In this video, I am comparing my fortnightly beard trimmer, my Wahl, to one that Brio Beardscape just sent to me. They got in contact with me about 2 weeks ago and they were like, let me send you this beard trimmer. And I was like, sure, I'll happily review it. So here is what I really think about the Brio Beardscape compared to my daily driver, the Wahl Pro Professional Trimmer. My first impressions about this trimmer was relatively good. It comes in a lovely box and it's got all of the important features on the outside. Great design, extra quiet with low friction blades, quick charge, so get a full charge in 3 hours. You've also got a ceramic blade, a high capacity battery, and it cuts conveniently. So I was very impressed, and the beard trimmer opened nicely and it was nice and presented. Anyway, I've ruined it since opening it initially, but overall this is what I found, and it was kind of nice. It's kind of nice and heavy in the hand. It's easy to hold. It's not too thick, not too heavy. It's just about right. Now, when you first get this, I was like, what on earth are all of these different buttons? You know, my professional trimmer has just got on and off. Why has it got all of these different buttons? So as you go through it, at the very top, you've got a micro adjuster, and this allows you to cut between 1mm and 1.9mm without having to put on any extra clippers, which I really like. So I've been using that to fade in the different parts of my beard, particularly at the top when I've shaved my head. It's got a couple of buttons for changing the number of revolutions per minute, so how fast the motor goes. That impacts the battery, but also you've got a big old button for on and off down the bottom, and then you've got a nice big LCD screen. On the LCD screen, you have the revolutions per minute, the amount of time available. It will prompt you when you need to oil it, and also it has a kind of stress meter at the top. So if your blade gets a little bit too much friction, the stress meter will go up and it will tell you to oil, and also, you know, it will save you from damaging it, which is fantastic. So overall, first impressions were pretty good. It looks like a trimmer. Like I said, it's handy and it comes with a nice portable base, and I've been sitting this in my bathroom next to where I trim up my beard, and it's nice and convenient. So overall, I had high hopes for the Brio Beardscape when it turned up. Now, the one thing I'll notice right away is that it's very plasticky. So, you know, compared to this, which has got a plastic case, but everything else is metallic. All of the operational bits at the top are metallic. This has got a plastic case. All the buttons are plastic, and the back is plastic. And, you know, I was like, okay, maybe that's where the extra money, you know, it's not as expensive as the Wahl Professional Trimmer. So I was like, okay, maybe they're saving a bit of money on the product using plastic. No dramas. But here is what I think about using the Brio Beardscape as I have done over the last 2 weeks compared to my normal stuff, which normally requires 2 trimmers, which is the Wahl Professional Trimmer and then a very, very cheap trimmer that I was given by my father-in-law. The first thing I really like about this trimmer is the micro adjusters. Now, the micro adjusters don't have to have extra clips involved. It's all built into the head, and so you can go from 1mm to 1.9mm. It's got 1.9, 1.3, 1.5, and 1, and that's fantastic. And one thing I've found about this is that when I've shaved my head, it's really, really convenient for blending in here, and I can do it without having to faff around with different clips and different guards and all that sort of stuff. So overall, I really like this for the micro adjustment stuff. Now, one thing I was a little bit concerned about is that it's not perfect for the head. I'll talk about that in a minute, but there is a product and an extra thing you can put on top, so a zero cut blade on top to help you get closer than 1mm. But overall, this is fantastic. The issue is that the 1mm just doesn't allow you for super accurate trimming, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Another thing I really like about this beard trimmer is the weight and the ergonomics and the maneuverability around a beard and my head. So, compared to my professional Wahl trimmer, this is heavy, this is plugged in. You know, it's got like different cables coming down, so when you're doing that and trying to go down, there's kind of different kind of what forces and weights acting on the trimmer, so it takes a little bit more effort to use this. This is much lighter, and it's very easy to maneuver around the face. I did my head with it a couple of times. I've done my beard sides, I've used the guards, and I've trimmed up here, and overall it was an absolute pleasure to use. It still feels a little bit plasticky in the hand, but overall I didn't notice that while I was trimming. So yeah, it was really nice. So ergonomics, a +1 for the Brio Beardscape. I really like the fact that this comes with a charging base. Now, I'm not a huge fan of rechargeables. I prefer all of my trimmers to be plugged into the wall because it just provides consistent power throughout your trim. But the one thing I like about this is that the charging base is nice and convenient, it looks kind of cool, and you can keep it plugged in all the time. I didn't, but I've only charged this up once, and I've been using it for a couple of weeks, and I've not had to charge it yet, and I've still got 183 minutes left. So I think, you know, they've done pretty well with keeping the battery life up, which is fantastic. So I like how convenient it is at all times. You know, when I'm using this, I do have to get it out of the case. Where is it? I do have to go into my cupboard, get this case out, unravel it, plug it into the wall. And so it can stop me from doing things. Whereas this is just pick it up, turn it on, give it a little bit of a trim, done, you're on with your day. Now, the one thing about that is it can be a downside. I often find if I'm easily able to dick around with my beard every single day, I start to thin it out without realizing it. I like to do a fortnightly trim up, and then I leave my beard well alone. And that's because I found the more that I can kind of play around with it, the more I can take off the edges and all of the different sort of like areas, and it just means that my beard ends up being thinner, ends up being unsymmetrical, because I'm like, oh, a little bit off here, a little bit off here, and then here I also sort of like just keep on trimming. So it's got a positive and minuses. I love the fact that if you've got a short beard, you can do a quick touch up, because this can be very readily available at all times. But if you've got a longer beard or you're trying to grow your beard, having it available can be a bit of a downside. Now, one of the issues I found is I like to use my trimmers all over my body, head, beard, and other places. Now, the thing about that is these trimmers are fantastic because they've got the power to go up here, and also they cut very close to the skin. So this isn't 0, but it's much closer than 1mm. And I realized that when I was using the Brio Beardscape, which has a 1mm minimum cut length, and it just wasn't close enough. Now, they do sell a 0 cut head, which is fine. I was trying to order it. I tried to look online. I'm in Australia. I was like, do I order it from the States? Where do I order this thing? I couldn't find it, so I gave up. So you can actually get a 0 cut trimmer to go on top, which will make it nice and short on top, and then you can use it on your beard as well. Now, the thing about that is that it's not super easy to change. So if you do want to change, you know, take this really cheap Remington beard trimmer, which I've used for years, and it just keeps on going. This is how you change the head. Twist, pop, done. Put it back on, down, twist. Easy done. You can change it for all sorts of different connections, like nose hair stuff, whatever. Now, the thing about this is there's a little bit of a technique you need to get used to. First of all, you push back, you put your thumb on it, and you push back, and it pops off. There we are. So you can see the internals there. That's the little motor just turning around, and that changes and spins all of this stuff. Now, the thing about it is you can see there's like clips, there's plastic bits that stick out, there's metallic bits, and it's just very complicated to get it back in. So you do have to put it on the longest length, 1.9, and then you have to kind of like sneak it in the bottom while pushing on the top. Sometimes I can get it real quick, other times it's just a lot of dicking around, because there we go, I'm in. There's springs and all sorts in there, and I always am so careful about, I'm like, oh my god, am I going to break the little plastic tabs? I haven't yet, but if you're changing it regularly, it could be a bit of a pain for you. So it's not as easy as twist and pop. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but you can replace the heads, and also that means then you can keep it nice and sharp by replacing the trimming head when it starts to get dull. So yeah, I like the fact you can replace it, but it's not the easiest thing to do. Now, another thing about the fact that this has a 1mm error bar is that it doesn't get really up and close in my mustache. So when I'm trimming up here, I want the trimmer to cut exactly where I put like the metal bits. And that's not the case with this beard trimmer. With the Zero head, it's probably a little bit better, but I couldn't get hold of it. So with this one and my super cheap Remington, I am able to put it exactly where I want it. And it just trims. It just goes, okay, that's where it's trimming. And I can get a nice sharp line. Now, when I'm using the Beardscape, I do have to kind of factor in the 1mm error bar. So I'm cutting more, I'm like cutting above where I want it to be, and then I trust that it's going to be 1mm longer. So you can get used to that in the long run, I think. But for me, it was like nerve-wracking because I don't want a super short mustache, but I was slowly getting closer. And, you know, I want a beard trimmer to cut where I put it. So like I said, the Zero head that I couldn't get hold of may be able to help with that. But yeah, that's one of the downsides. Both with these, super cheap and the Wahl Professionals, where I put it, it cuts, and I trust that it's going to cut there. So yeah, overall, it can be a little bit to get those super defined lines, mustache, other areas. So yeah, just bear that in mind. Now, the manufacturers promote this as a super quiet trimmer. Now, in my experience, it's pretty quiet. This is the Remington. This is my super cheap $10 like donated trimmer. It is quite noisy compared to the Brio. This is the same distance away from the microphone. So this is the Remington. Quite loud. This is the Brio Beardscape. So overall, not too much different, bit quieter. And you got the nice little beep on and off. Beep, beep, lovely. Now, compared to a professional trimmer that's plugged in, it is not quiet at all. So I'm not sure whether or not they mean quiet compared to other rechargeable and portable trimmers, but compared to the Wahl that I had, this is the Brio Beardscape. And this is the Wahl. Turn that off. Brio Beardscape. Where's the button? And the Wahl. So, this is definitely quieter. It's plugged in, maybe that's something to do with it, but I don't think the noise is that much of an issue, and I don't find it particularly much quieter than a super cheap one that doesn't have ceramic blades. This is just 2 bits of metal. I've kept them all oiled up. I've kept them all the same. So overall, you know, yeah, you know, if quietness is a thing that you care about, you know, yeah, sure, this is a bit quieter than one that's much, much cheaper. But yeah, I don't really understand why that's such a big push. Maybe if you're in a barbershop and you've got heaps of things going, maybe you want it to be a bit quieter. But yeah, it's not really that much quieter. The last thing that I think is a little bit clumsy with the Beardscape, Brio Beardscape, is that it's got these double-sided clippers, clipper guards. Now, that's not so much of a problem. So let's have a look at the Wahl. It comes with these single ones, clip it on, bump, nice big audible click, and it's in there. It's got a metal clip, which I like. Here, it's all plastic again. Like, I get it. It's not as expensive, but getting it on, you do have to kind of like just trust. There's no kind of super audible click. It doesn't like completely grab into place. It's kind of, you know, it's in there, and that's absolutely fine. But the one thing I don't like about it is they're double-sided. So you can see here, there's quite a bit of sort of like material, the other side of the trimmer. That's no issue if you're doing your cheeks, but when you're getting up underneath, this bit could sort of like stop you from getting super close. It wouldn't make it very comfortable to do all of those awkward corners when you're coming up underneath your neck and whatever. So overall, you know, they could probably improve this, make it clip on a little bit better. It does feel like it's not super sort of like securely attached, but once you get used to attaching it, like I said, it's not too much of an issue. But overall, yeah, I think I still prefer using my Wahl trimmer. Alright, so who is the Brio Beardscape for? I think it is perfect if you have a shorter beard, and that's because of the inbuilt adjustable sizes and guards that means you don't have to faff around with other attachments. I think it's brilliant for that. If you've got a shorter beard and you're always just sort of like fading into your sideburns, doing stuff underneath on your neckline, I think this is brilliant. If you want to do it on your head and everywhere else, you have to get the zero cut trimmer head because it's just not good enough with the 1mm gap as far as I'm concerned, and overall it is a really good upgrade to any other sort of cheap rechargeables that you've got. I've replaced this with this as my daily sort of like trim up thing. I love that it comes on a base and it's readily available. So overall, yeah, if you've got a shorter beard, I think it's great. However, if you've got a longer beard or you've got sort of like more complicated kind of lengths going on, I would probably stick to the Wahl Professional Trimmer. It's much more sturdy. It cuts better, I think. It cuts closer, more consistently, and also the fact that it's got metallic, completely metallic cutting sort of heads that are easy to change with a Phillips head screwdriver. It's plugged in, so it's never going to run out of battery. It is a little bit more cumbersome and heavy to use, but I think that kind of like makes me trust it more because it's really solid. So for me, I would still stick with my Wahl Professional Trimmer, but if you're a new bearder, if you're a new beard grower, give this a good look over because it is definitely better than some of the cheaper ones I've seen out there, and it does yeah, feel good in the hand. It's ergonomic. It's perfect for all of the shorter beard styles. Let me know in the comments what you would add to that, and if you have tried either the Beardscape Brio or the Wahl Professional Trimmer, or if you've tried other combinations of trimmers, I'd love to hear about it. Until next time, hope your beard growing adventures goes brilliantly, and I shall see you in the next video.